Now, it's true in all of fiction that a brilliant plot twist can significantly elevate a story, and this is especially the case in video games, which through their more expansive and interactive form can sneakily hide hints at plot twists in plain sight throughout their game world, and that is absolutely what happened with these 10 video games, each of which played host to shocking, unforgettable, and totally ingenious twists few of us ever saw coming, apart from those who were paying really close attention. And let's take a look at them today, as I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture, and these are 10 video games that secretly revealed their twists early. Number 10. Venom Snake isn't Big Boss. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Now, players who seek out Metal Gear Solid 5's true ending will learn that Venom Snake, the protagonist they believe to be Big Boss, was actually a doppelganger the whole damn time. The ultimate ending reveals that Venom Snake is really the combat medic who was in the chopper with Big Boss when it crashed at the end of the Phantom Pain's prequel, Ground Zeroes. While comatose, the medic was given plastic surgery and hypnotherapy to convince him that he was in fact Big Boss. Now, at the very start of the game, players are tasked with creating a character's facial likeness, an odd flourish for a Metal Gear Solid game, right? Yet many players just simply assumed that this was related to the Phantom Pain's online multiplayer component, and yet this is actually the face that will appear during the final reveal, confirming Venom Snake's true identity. Yet the twist is cleverly revealed much earlier, as any time that players are in the chopper, they can manipulate the camera to see an incredibly faint reflection of Venom's real face, the one that you created at the start of the game, in the window. It's incredibly tough to notice, but if you tinker with some display settings on your TV, it's far more apparent, and another ingenious flourish from the great Hideo Kojima. Number 9. Atlas isn't who he says he is. BIOSHOCK. Now, in BIOSHOCK's third act, it drops the all-timer twist that your apparent ally Atlas is in fact the villainous megalomaniac Frank Fontaine, the game's ultimate antagonist who has been using the trigger phase "would you kindly" to compel protagonist Jack to do his bidding. But Atlas's deception is actually slyly implied a few hours before the big reveal when you're traveling through the area Fort Frolic. Near the entrance to the Fleet Hall Theatre, you can spot a poster for a show called Patrick and Moira, and these names just so happen to be the names of Atlas's apparent children who he claims are trapped in the City of Rapture. While it's certainly not unheard of for people to name their children after their favourite works of art, for eagle-eyed players it does at least suggest the possibility that Atlas is pulling a usual suspects and lying about his true identity. Number 8. Ethan is dead. Resident Evil Village. Now, late in the game, it's revealed to protagonist Ethan Winters that he was actually killed during his first encounter with Jack Baker near the start of Resident Evil 7, but her mold was used to revive him and grant him regenerative powers. While it's made clear early on in Resident Evil 7 that Ethan develops some pretty bizarre recuperative capabilities, there's little implication that he was actually killed by Jack, yet Village more or less confirms this during Ethan's first encounter with "Would you kindly step on me" long before it's actually confirmed by Eveline. When we first meet the lady, she unforgettably sucks some blood out of Ethan's hand and says that it's starting to go a little stale. This is obviously because Ethan is mold infected, and given that there's almost 4 years between the events of the 7th and 8th games, he's been dead for a damn long time. Number 7. Atreus is Loki. God of War 2018. While for most of the game it seems like Kratos' son Atreus is an entirely original character, in the final minutes of God of War 2018, father and son discover a mural which refers to him as Loki, the legendary Norse trickster god. But there's actually a ton of hints to his true identity, from Kratos employing him as a distraction or trickster throughout the game, to Loki holding a sprig of mistletoe the first time that we see him, given the character's penchant for mistletoe in Norse mythology. The mistletoe connection doesn't end there though, it reaches critical mass during the final boss fight against Boulder, about 30 to 40 minutes before his identity is fully revealed. During the fight, Boulder punches Atreus, but his hand gets impaled with his mistletoe arrow, breaking the immortality spell that was placed upon him. Now, anyone familiar with Norse mythology will likely be aware of the myth of Boulder, who was killed by a mistletoe spear that was fashioned by Loki, and so anyone knowledgeable enough was likely just waiting for the Loki reveal, all while the rest of us were blissfully unaware until the crucial moment. Number 6. Diana poisons Agent 47. Hitman 3. Now, near the end of the game, Agent 47 succumbs to a neurotoxin administered by his former handler Diana, seemingly in revenge for 47 killing her parents. As it turns out though, the poison is non-fatal and all part of Diana's wider plan to put 47 on a train to take down Arthur Edwards, the one person standing in the way of her ambitions. You can actually fleetingly see the moment that Diana poisons 47 about an hour before the effects manifest. At the start of the late game mission The Farewell, Diana briefly touches 47's hand, hand, and for a few fractions of a second, the screen tints red and grey. This only happens in the game when 47 has received damage, so it subtly tees up the fact that Diana just harmed him in some fashion. It's incredibly easily missed if you're not paying total attention or do so much as blink though. Number 5. BERRI dies. Conker's bad fur day. Close to the very end of the cult classic N64 game, Conker's love BERRI is brutally gunned down by Weezo. And though Conker ultimately conquers his foes to become king of the land, he's miserable that BERRI is no more. Despite speaking with the game's developers in a delirious late-game fourth wall break, Conker forgets to ask them to revive BERRI, instead using the opportunity to get a katana and a helpful teleport. BERRI's surprising fate, though, is actually slyly suggested in the game's very first scene, an in medias res glimpse at a newly crowned King Conker unhappily sitting on his throne drinking milk. The scene is clearly an homage to the opening of Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange, even similarly including a reworking of a piece of classical music. But beyond referencing Kubrick's masterful film, the use of the song, a funeral song for a queen no less, because it's Henry Purcell's funeral march of Queen Mary, also foreshadows the fate of Conker's own intended Queen BERRI, and why he's so damn unhappy in that opening sequence. Number 4. Mr. Jefferson is the villain. Life is strange. Protagonist Max's hip photography teacher, Mr. Jefferson, is actually the game's primary villain, having a penchant for drugging and kidnapping young girls in order to photograph them. Beyond that, he also kills Nathan and then attempts to kill Max as well. Now, Jefferson is basically outed as the game's villain in the opening minutes of Life is Strange's very first episode. During his photography class, he says, "I could frame any one of you in a dark corner and capture you in a moment of desperation." While at the time it seems like Jefferson is speaking purely in more innocent and flowery artistic terms, in reality, he's basically hanging a neon signpost around his neck and making his true intentions clear. If that wasn't enough though, he even follows it up with the telling line, "And any one of you could do that to me." Isn't that too easy? Too obvious? Considering how many players figured out Jefferson was behind everything before it was revealed in the game's 4th episode, it just might have been. Number 3. Morgan's apartment is a simulation. Prey 2017. Now, this twist admittedly comes much earlier than in any other game on this list, almost right at the start in fact. Roughly 20 minutes into Prey, players learn that protagonist Morgan Yu's apartment is actually a simulation, and contrary to his own beliefs, he's been living on the space station Talos 1 for the last 3 years. Though the twist completely blindsides most players, it is possible to figure out what's going on about 15 minutes before the game reveals the truth in earnest. In the opening minutes of the game, you're tasked with heading to your apartment building's helipad on the roof, where you're then flown to the TRANSPLANT testing facility. However, if you bring an object from your apartment building to the helipad and drop it there before getting on the chopper, you'll find the very same object on the helipad of the supposed TRANSPLANT building. This is of course because the two helipads are really the same location within the simulation. While most who discover this might initially chalk it up to a glitch, it's actually totally intentional. Number 2. REZNOV is dead. Call of Duty Black Ops. Near the end of Black Ops' campaign, it's revealed that protagonist Alex Mason's soldier pal Viktor REZNOV has actually been dead for years, and his presence throughout most of the game has been a mere hallucination in Mason's mind due to him having been brainwashed. Now, there are a number of sly hints that REZNOV doesn't actually exist throughout the game though. For starters, REZNOV doesn't speak to any other character during any campaign level set after his death, and in one level he will inexplicably reach the roof before Mason despite the fact that Mason climbs the ladder first. Yet perhaps the most obvious spoiler occurs following the Fate Vorkuta mission, where REZNOV is killed in reality. All subsequent missions featuring REZNOV won't give players a friendly fire warning if they shoot him, low-key confirming that he isn't real. Then there's the fact that the text briefings at the start of every mission contain a code which reveals the message REZNOV is dead, amongst many other things. Pretty wild, right? And number 1, BJ gets a head transplant. Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. Now, roughly halfway through Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, jaws are collectively dropped when protagonist BJ Blazkowicz gets decapitated by villain Frau Engel at the Lincoln Memorial. However, the resistance group manages to recover BJ's head and get it to scientist Seth Roth, who grafts the head onto a Nazi super soldier's body, putting him back into the fight and stronger than ever before. His unexpected death and resurrection are foreshadowed though during our first introduction to Set, where he reveals his bizarre cat-monkey hybrid pet Shoshana. As it turns out, Set took the feline in but soon learned that it was dying of bowel cancer, and so boldly decided to graft its head onto the body of a brain-dead squirrel monkey that he came across. The implications of this experiment aren't immediately obvious to the player, but it nevertheless lays the groundwork for BJ going through the similar experience himself later in the game. And there we go, my friends, those were 10 video games that secretly revealed their twists early. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my streaming outside of work, and it'd be great to see you over there. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Hope you're treating yourself with love and respect, my friend, because you deserve all the best things in life, like love, happiness, and success, and do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise, alright? You're a massive ledge, and I want you to go out there and utterly smash it today. I believe in you. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.